Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show you a way to create a handwriting font or handwriting text in Camtasia, complete with animation of every letter as if you were writing it by hand. It is a pretty involved process, but it's not a difficult thing to achieve, and it does take a little time, but if you plan it ahead, and if you don't need to do all the letters of the alphabet, then you can achieve this and it looking very natural, very nice writing text with just a few steps. So let me explain. We will try to use a handwriting, sort of chalky looking font. We will try to simulate something like writing on a blackboard. So we want to use a chalky font. Now you can choose your own favorite chalky font. Mine is Chalkduster, it's called. So I'm going to start by creating a new document in Camtasia, and I'm going to go to the Annotations and look to the text. You can find text boxes, text bullets here, so or speech bubbles or whatever, and just choose the plain text annotation here and just drag it on your scene. And it doesn't matter where you place it right now because we are creating every letter in turn. So I'm gonna do my text, my name Graficious, the name of my channel. I'm gonna make that into a handwriting chalky font text, and double click here on this, just enlarge it to make plenty of space. Double click on this and I'm gonna do the letter G, and you can change the size to the maximum. I believe it's 500, the maximum in Camtasia, so it doesn't have to be small. So make it large so you can work on it easily. Now I'm going to change the font to the chalky font that I like, and it's called Chalkduster here. I have it on my system. If you want to look for this online, I think you can find it as a free download on the many font websites out there. So this is my letter capital G, and how am I going to animate this as a handwriting? So I'm going to use a feature called Track Matte from Camtasia 2020. This is not available in previous versions, so you will have to have the latest version of Camtasia. And if you see here, I have the letter G on a separate track. I'm going to expand this to a few seconds there and zoom in. Control and mouse wheel will zoom in. And what we want to do is actually we want to trace the letter G as if you were writing it by hand, which means you start at the top here and go down around, then a straight line down, and then a line here. This is the letter G. So we will achieve this. First of all, we will cover the letter with shapes, with a round shape in steps. So depending on how many steps you want, you will have to add like maybe 10 shapes to the scene, and you will have to make them all come in turns. So now the letter G, capital G, is quite large. In some other letters you may have to do less, but let's say that if you want to create handwriting text, so you want to create words out of this, then you want to have every letter be drawn in no more than 1 second. So you want to do this in 1 second or less. So the way to achieve that is, of course, we are now at the playhead is at 0, 0. So we will start at the first frame after the start. So we want the letter G to actually be invisible for the first frame. We will be able to tweak this later. So we will just use this next frame control button here, or press the dot key to move dot and comma. They move you forward and backwards in your play position. So I'm going to press the dot, move to the next frame, and here I'm going to look for the round shape. So let's go to shapes, basic, I think it is, no, shapes here on the annotations panel. Go to the shapes and show all. So scroll down and then you will find a circle. So this circle is going to be the one we will use to kind of move around the letter, but we will make copies of this. So watch what happens. I'm going to drag this to the scene and make sure that the width of the diameter of this circle is not too large so as to overlap with points of the letter that you want to reveal later in the animation. So we will create the animation like this. Starting from here, we will go around like that, and then we will do a line across and then down. This is how you naturally, I mean, some people draw it differently, but this letter naturally do it like that. So we will start here. So I'm going to make the size of this circle, hold down the shift key to resize the circle using the handles proportionally, and I'm going to just use it and move it around to make sure that I'm not making it too thin or too thick. Okay, so I'm going to place the circle here. The one way to note is we will have to probably change these to black later because they will become a mask. Okay, so this is the first one. Now we will go and Control C on this track number 2. This is the shape. Control C to copy this, and here's what we will do. Every time we want to add a new step, we go 1 frame forwards or press the dot key or this icon here, next frame, and Control V to paste. We are always pasting the new shapes at the playhead, and of course Camtasia is pasting it on a new track because it's looking for the next available track from the bottom up. So we will paste on this new track. Of course, the circle is placed in position, so we will move this one to the next position like that. Okay, again, 1 frame forward, Control V to paste, and move it down there, and Control to move to the new. If you can work on this, you can actually make it smaller so you can see the tracks. Control V to paste again and move it here. So you notice what we are doing now. We are covering this letter with circles like that, with dots or shapes or whatever you want to call them. Paste again, and this is a bit of a repetitive and maybe boring process, but you will see that at the end it pays off. Do not be afraid of creating many tracks here. It's fine. We will get rid of them at the end. Again, okay, 1 more frame, paste, and we are nearly there. So with this one, I'm going to stop here. And then a new one, again, paste, drag the line across here. New line, paste, move it there. A new frame there, and then finally 1 more frame and paste and put it on the line there. So here we go. We have covered the entire letter with these shapes. Okay, so now on to the next step. We can tweak these later, so do not worry. Everything we do here is completely editable even in the later stages, so don't be afraid to make mistakes. Now if we scroll up and down, we have here about 12 shapes. Okay, 12 shapes on 12 tracks. That is fine. And what we want to do is to keep things nice and tidy, I'm going to zoom out, control and mouse wheel. I'm going to zoom out all the way, and I'll bring the text back into the so it doesn't take so long. So I'm going to just make it up to here like 5 seconds. Why I'm saying 5 seconds is, of course, when you use these, you will be able to tweak their length. That's fine because you can expand it. And let's bring all of these layers at the same length. Okay, just to make sure they're all. Camtasia will help you snap them into place. If you're having trouble, you can zoom in again and just bring them all to finish in the same point. Okay, so that's gonna be a few seconds here. You can of course make the letter much shorter than this, but if you leave it at about 5 seconds, I mean, any text you create is gonna be on the screen for at least 5 seconds, particularly if you have many letters in it and you're waiting for the other letters to draw on screen, right? So we have stopped them. You can see the animation now. All of these bubbles, these yellow circles are coming in, and if I play it at normal speed, that's kind of fast. Now you'll be able to tweak this, of course. If you want the animation to happen slower, then you can add in between each one of these, you can add 2 frames, or you decide. Okay, now we have done this. Now let's make sure that we can edit these easily. So I'm going to select all of these tracks and group them. Okay, the first thing is just to keep things tidy and nicely together. Select everything, so drag from the top here and select all of these tracks except the letter track. So the letter G track should not be selected here. So with these selected, you can right click and say group, or press Ctrl G to group these together. So they are nicely put into a group like so. Okay, you can double click on this and give it a name like G circles, I don't know. And this one is going to be the letter. So these are on top of the letter G. And now for the effect, we will use the Camtasia track mat, of course, and you see this icon here on the that means disabled track, but we won't click this. We will right click this and you will see the track mat mode option, and we will set that to alpha. Click on alpha and now the letter has disappeared. Let's play the animation. Hey, there you go. It's animating the letter G nicely as if it is handwritten. Okay, so that's quite fast. I believe that's quite natural handwriting speed. So I will leave mine like this. Here we go. So now, of course, to keep things even tidier, this track number 2, which is our alpha track, what happens here is the alpha track is only letting stuff be visible through the objects that are on it. So if there is no object on it, it's not see-through. So then we need those circles to kind of paint the letter G, and then when we apply the alpha effect, it will let it see through. So that's very nice. To keep things even tidier here, we will group these things together. So we will select now this track number 2 and the first track with the letter, and we will right click and group them again. So this is a group. We will create a group inside a group and another group of the letter plus the alpha track. Okay, right click on this to group. Don't be afraid that the letters disappear. The reason for that is the track where the folder with the shapes used to be is now still using this alpha effect, and because there's nothing on it anymore, because the contents have been moved inside of this group, then you're not seeing anything. So all you have to do is just right click again here and select none, which will disable the alpha effect on this track. And again, we see the letter, and now the animation is nice in one group, letter G, like that. So you can pull this in now, because if you don't want to make these too long, then you can pull them in. I'm going to leave mine to 5 seconds because I want to use this in a text and I don't want to have to expand them later. So this is one letter. Okay, it took me a while to show it and explain it, but actually if you're doing it yourself, then it's probably going to take you like a minute or so to create all of this stuff, creating all those shapes, putting them on top of the letter, you know, with a bit of offset from each other, and then grouping them, adding the alpha and grouping them together. So we will call this letter G. I'm just going to call it G like that, okay, capital G, because we want to put these in our library so that we can use them in all of our projects. All right, so I'm going to make more letters, and I'm going to make the entire word graphicious, quite a few letters there, but I'm going to make these, so I'm going to put them in my library. So if I want to do different words later, I can just drag them from my library straight into my projects, and they will work out of the box. So a little bit of effort now is going to help me down the line. So to do this, I'm going to go to library, and I have my main library here. So I'm going to create a new library, create new library from this drop down. And I'm gonna call it Chalky Alphabet. Okay, so this is my Chalky Alphabet. All right, and I want to put the letter G inside of that alphabet. Right click and say add to library, and I'm gonna select the Chalky Alphabet, and I'm gonna use the canvas side. Okay, this is actually gonna save the object in the location where it is now. So if you want to usually you don't want to make these as large, always as large, unless you're just using one letter, but usually you want these to be smaller. And the beauty of this grouping thing that we did is that I can actually move this around on my scene. I can resize it, and put it somewhere else, and the animation's still going to work in place. It's just going to be smaller. So that's nice. You can even actually open the group and make the letter not so large. So I don't want to, I don't want that, oh, that space, but that's going to move all of, it's going to move the animation away. So you don't want, you want to be careful that you are actually resizing everything together. So if you want to do this and you want to remove the frame, all of this space that's around the letter G, although you don't actually see anything through it, there's nothing, it doesn't obstruct your view. So if you place this on a background, you're gonna just see the letter. You're not gonna see, you're not gonna, have like a black rectangle there. It's all transparent here. Okay, so if I change my canvas color to something else, I don't know, let's make it red or something, you see that my letter is actually very nicely transparent. You can see through it, and that's fine. So that's not a problem to worry about. But if you are bothered by this kind of extra space that we created here with the letter G, then you want to think about the other letters as well. So if you're sure that all of your letters are going to be kind of starting out at 500 pixels, then you can actually reduce the size of this, and then you'd have to ungroup these, take the effect off, reduce the size, and do everything all over again just to make sure that the letter doesn't get cut off. Okay, so I'm not going to actually do this now. My letter is nicely self-contained here, and I'm ready to add it to my library. So right click on this, add to library, choose my chalky alphabet, and okay. So there we go. So now I can actually use this in my projects. If I want to have a large one, I will drag another one here, and another one that is also smaller, so here we go. All of my letters are playing just fine. So in this way, if you do all of the other letters, again, remember you need to do it so that, the animation happens in the sequence you would naturally write those letters. You save each one to your library. So always start with the full size, 500 pixels if you want, because you're sure then that if you bring all of them to your scene later, all of the letters in one go, you select all of them and you resize all of them together, then they will all be the same size, proportional, and you won't have to kind of resize every letter. So that's going to save you some time later if your letters are all the same size to start with. Okay, so I'm going to remove these. Okay, so my letter G here just dropped on the scene is actually the original size I did it. Okay, so there you go. So now it's very easy, for example, to duplicate this, right? So I'm going to just I'm going to actually not duplicate. I'm going to just open it because I already have it in my library. I'm going to actually change this letter to letter C, okay? Because I'm fine with that. Letter C. It's pretty much the same letter, okay? And here we go. There you go. Letter C is now revealed. You may have to maybe go in and open this group and tweak your last one, the last one, because that's bringing in the this one here. So I don't have these two because these are not from the letter G here, and I have this one there, and I can pull this forward a bit. Okay, maybe one more frame like that. Okay, so now my letter C is ready. Okay, so this is very easy, low-hanging fruit for me. The letter C, I'm going to double click on this group and call it C like that. And this is going to be C circles. I don't seem to be able to rename this one. Okay, C circles. Okay, so this is my letter C now. So if I'm happy with this animation, yeah, I can right click again, add it to library, letter C, done. So I have two letters already, right? So now if you want to see how you are actually making the words, I'm gonna just drag the G on here as well. So there you go. Okay, they are they are on top of each other, so I can move them like this, right? Okay, the G needs to come first, the C needs to come second, and just Yeah, you make sure that you're not finishing, you're not starting the new letter before the one is finished, because naturally you're not able to do that. There you go, 2 letters. And of course, if you need one of them to stay on for longer, you can just extend the end here, and all of the effect is going to stretch together, right? So if I need both letters to stay on my screen up to here, you just stretch the ends, and the alpha track and everything else moves with them. So now if you need to resize them, let's say these are too large now, select both of them and resize them like that. Just you know, you need to realize if you're not doing it from the center, they will be proportional, but they will sort of distance themselves. So the way to do this would be to drag all of the letters you need for your word, place them together, and then select everything. You know, first resize them, then put them in place. Okay, so you first select all of them as you drag them from your, so let me just illustrate. I want these 2 letters, right? I'm placing them onto my timeline here from my library. They're both now, you know, on top of each other. So I want to put them like this. So I don't want to make my word first. I'm going to just resize everything first. So I'm dragging all my letters, selecting everything, you know, resizing everything, and now deselecting and kind of placing them where they need to be, so I don't resize them and lose, you know, the distance between them again. Okay, so that's right. There you go. So this is your effect right here. So I'm not going to actually record doing the other letters, but I will do the other letters, and maybe I'm going to make them available as a free download. Of course, this is subject to your font, so I don't know exactly how that's going to work. If you want your font to transmit when you save the assets from Camtasia, then the font cannot be distributed with that. So if you don't have the same exact font, these may not work if you download and import them. But okay, you know, you've learned how to do it now, so it's not very difficult to do. You just place those shapes on top of the letters in sequence, put a bit of a frame between them, and then apply the alpha channel, alpha matte, group everything together, save it to your library, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. Next time you just drag your letters and you do your words. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy my tutorials, please subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, share it to others who you think might be interested, and see you next time.